Telling the story, I have one coyote, just one, maybe two, I don't know exactly how many, almost destroyed my entire chicken flock on the entire farm. Like, not just one flock, but both of them, wiping out 60% of the chickens in just 1 8-hour period. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, because this is a wild ride and it'll teach both of us something by the end of the video. An ordinary July day in 2023, so about a year ago, July 20th to be exact. It was a nice morning out, the birds were chirping, my alarm clock was ready to go off, and something dark was looming at the top of the fields. A coyote was walking out of the woods to have a nice end of their day snack, because as you guys know, coyotes go to bed during the day and wake up at night. They're nocturnal for the most part, but they sometimes come during the daytime if they have to. And they were looking for something crazy to have. They wanted to have a nice final meal of their day. So they came out of these fields, right? And they went all the way down to my chicken flock to see if there was something worth value there. It was about 8 in the morning, maybe 7:30 based on the trail cameras, but those chickens were outside and very vulnerable. The coyotes came in there and they trampled the fence on my pet flock, which at the time, it's impossible to say from here because it's about like 1,000 feet from here, but there was an area right over by a compost bin over there is where my chickens were at the time, and that area was very saturated because last July we were getting rained on daily. There was a day where we barely missed out on getting 9 inches of rain in 3 hours. That was last year. We only got 3 inches, but the ground was very moisturized. Keep that in mind, because it was super easy to collapse that thing, because if he stepped on it the wrong way, the whole thing would just collapse. This year, not so bad. We're getting some nice rain this year, but last year was a different story, because last year the rain allowed for their easy entrance, and even if it was very dry out, they'd just be able to hop right over the fence because coyotes are apparently cool like that. So this coyote came in there and was looking for chickens, and of course he found some. He found my duck too, was outside. And the coyote grabbed those chickens. Yes, sadly, he grabbed 3 of them, 3 chickens. And there was probably another one there too. I grabbed 2 more, my rooster falcon and another chicken Kit Kat. While my rooster falcon was fighting for his life, he was barely attached to. He didn't have any bite marks except for right on his tail where there's a couple feathers missing. So it was like falling down and scraping your knee kind of injury. Not a big deal. And Kit Kat did have a little bit more of a solid injury, but Kit Kat did survive with some injuries that if she wasn't to be treated, she'd get some pretty serious infections, but she survived and she's alive to this day. My rooster falcon really used this attack as an ego boost because he had multiple opportunities to save the rest of the chickens. But keep in mind, I'm still asleep. I wake up and I go down here, right by the barn, and I see my chicken Gray Cloud. She's gray chicken, gray green queen, which is basically an Easter egger, except very puffy, very friendly, and also a suck up for the rooster too, but not nearly as bad as Kit Kat. She was right around here, like right in front of this door, this garage door here, right there. And I was like, yo, what you doing here, bro? So I grabbed the chicken, of course, first instinct, walk her back to the chicken yard, and I see the absolute war zone that unfolded there. And of course I was mad, bro. Who wouldn't be mad? And I'm like, you know what? Since you guys are already outside, I'm just gonna move you down there. So we did. We moved them down to the edge of the house where they resided for the next couple days. And of course, during that day, they didn't get out. It's just randomly, my chicken Gray Cloud was just removed. There was 8 chickens left. We originally had 11 to start out the morning. Now we had 8. Now we had 7, which is now the lowest we've had in the entire pet flock history. And this was very sad because Gray Cloud was who told us about this. I classify her as the hero of the day because Falcon just technically used the coyote thing as an ego boost. Because after that, he started acting like a brat to everybody else around him. But at the time, he was still using this as an ego boost. Everyone else was still soaking in the attack. We found any last survivors. Literally everybody was all over the place. Like one of my friends called me, and that's where he told me one of the chickens were, because my chickens do have a tendency to go up the road. In fact, on my day in the life back in June, I actually saw one of the chickens went up there. It was just one of the farm flock chickens, just chilling up in my friend's backyard, of course. And he knows my chickens, so I just brought him back here, no problem. So that was interesting. And it's happened before, and it'll sadly happen again as well, probably. Now this is where things get interesting, however. After Gray Cloud was gone, I looked all over, couldn't find her. I was like, all right, she's probably hiding out somewhere laying an egg. I'll be back soon. So here's the thing. For lunch that day, we're gonna go have a meetup with some of my family. And to be able to do this, we had to drive all the way to South Central Connecticut. We live in Northwestern Connecticut. So that was about an hour and 40-minute drive. We left at 11:45 a.m. and we weren't gonna come back until 6 p.m. So we get down there, and of course nobody's watching the chickens, but I was kind of having this looming thought in the back of my mind, bro. What was gonna happen? And while we were gone, that coyote ransacked the chickens. The farm flock, not the pet flock. The pet flock had no fatalities this time. There was multiple coyotes this time. It wasn't just one or two, it was at least 5 or 6. Because by the time we were back home, not only was our farm flock reduced, because at this point in time, the farm flock had 18 chickens. Now we had 6 chickens. If you do some quick math, that supports 67% of the chickens gone in a short 7-hour period. That's it, 7-hour period. That was it, 7 hours. And the whole farm flock, almost the entirety of the farm flock was wiped out. We lock them up for the next day and a half, and we move them elsewhere. The farm flock had 6 chickens left. We weren't gonna take any more chances. And I was like, all right, at this point, this day couldn't get any crazier. My cat had been missing for the last 3 days, but fortunately that evening she turned up. We were very fortunate about that. I was worried the coyotes got to her, but she's my cat Cricket, and she's been pretty good with surviving in the wildlife. She survived most of her life in the wildlife before she came over here, so I think she would have been just fine. About a week and a half later, all this has finally settled down. The dust has settled. We've picked up the pieces at this point. And a coyote comes back one morning, one random morning. I think it was a Tuesday morning of all mornings. It was wild, bro. The coyote, not the chicken, just arrives on a random Tuesday morning. Comes right down over here. Takes one of my chickens, Captain Blackbeard, right behind that playscape there, too. And here's the thing. This didn't happen at like 5 in the morning. This happened when everyone was awake. This was 10:30 in the morning, and I was already outside that day. And keep in mind, I'm not the shortest person alive, so I could easily scare that thing. The only issue, though, is that coyote is at least 80 pounds, and at the time I was like 140 pounds, so there was no way I was going to be able to body that thing myself, of course. I wouldn't even try to be honest. I just scared away. I'd actually play one of my videos. I would actually probably scare it away too. But in all seriousness though, one chicken was killed in that flock, and we were like, at that morning, all right, something needs to change. And we're like, we need to throw these chickens in the pet flock. So the pet flock, they went up from 7 chickens to 12 chickens. And of course, then I did my little name challenge back in August 2023, where like the winner was able to choose the name of my ISA Brown or Well Summer. I don't actually know what the chicken is. Her name was T-Rexa. I personally think she's an ISA Brown, and most people agree with that, but there's some people that make the arguments that it's a Well Summer. They both look the same in my books, and also my cat is up there for whatever reason. That's the cat I was talking about earlier. She's right there. She's like about 2 years old at this point, bro. My cat, about, I'd say 10 pounds. He's a nice little cat, I'd say, though. So yeah, that was quite the interesting story. Now, what was that lesson I was talking about right at the beginning of this video? That lesson, never let your guard down, and always prepare for the worst. Never, ever let your guard down, especially if you're living with your chickens. Let this be a lesson to everybody. If you're ever gonna raise chickens or just anything in general, never let your guard down. Always make sure that you're looking around your area to make sure the coast is clear. And even then, just make sure, in general, that you're gonna be all right, because you don't want that bad case scenario playing out. If I had not let my guard down and I had actually woken up, because I was sleeping in that morning, bro. I usually wake up at 6:30 in the morning, so this could have easily been prevented. That thing taught me a lesson to never sleep in, and I was pretty much traumatized for the rest of that summer. So I was waking up 5:30, 6 a.m. the rest of the summer. Eventually, the school kind of forced me to wake up at 5 in the morning, so nothing really big ended up happening. But at the same time, nowadays I wake up at like 7 in the morning sometimes, without worrying. So I'm hoping and praying that nothing bad ends up happening. So yeah, this was quite the interesting video. I don't think I've really made a video like this. I really want to get into more storytelling on the swarm because I have a ton of stories I could tell. It's just I haven't really thought of making this video for whatever reason for the longest while. So if you enjoyed, man, be sure to click the video on screen right now. You wanna know what that is? That's a video from last night. I talk about how you could accidentally kill your chickens. This could potentially be you. You could be doing something like that right now. So why not click it, man? I'm just saying, I'll see you there if you want to click it.